Hello survivors and welcome to another Walking Dead Road to Survival video, and in this video we are going to be taking a first look at Gold Mythic Steele, who is going to be a brand new character coming to RTS. We've never had a Steele in the game. Now I was told that this character is going to be made available in an event quite like Mackenzie, and if you remember the Mackenzie event, free to play did get a chance to get a couple of copies, but most of the event was premium, but there was a little bit of an accessibility there, so it's worth keeping an eye on maybe the earlier limit breaks here on the upgrades, just to see what potential you can get early on as a free-to-play, and maybe you could get the character later down the line, who knows. Now if we look at the actual visuals on this character, like I said, we've never had a Steele in the game before. Looks pretty cool on the right hand side. I don't see too many people wearing, I guess this would be like a baseball like helmet. I don't see it just seems really smart. It just seems really smart. Very impenetrable helmet. Very nice indeed. On the left-hand side, we can see Steele's face without the helmet, and in the background is another character. This could be like a little brother or something like that. It'll be interesting to see if we do get another character like that come to the game in the future. Now, like I say, first ever version of Steele, kind of cool. If we look at the stats here at level 1,440, limit break 3, he has got 8,777 attack, 36,865 defense, and 42,131 HP. He is going to be a fast character, going to be of the tank role, Gold Mythic of course, and as he is an RTS original, he is going to be joining the Road to Survival Allegiance. Now first thing we're going to check out is going to be the Adrenaline Rush, and it is called Gearing Up. It has got a recharge rate of 55 AP. This fighter gets 100% defense, which increases by 50% each turn for the rest of combat. This fighter and one other teammate heal for 50% of their max HP for 2 turns. An enemy takes 50% of their max HP as main damage, plus one enemy if the target has bonus HP. So this character was obviously a defense character from the stats, because that's one of the lowest attack ratings I've ever seen. But we obviously are getting confirmation on the defense team kind of character here, just based on the fact that it's very defensive here. 55 AP is kind of standard for a defense team character. 100% defense buff by itself is actually pretty good, but the fact that it just keeps on scaling up and up and up and up throughout the fight means it could get to, you know, hundreds and hundreds of percentage of defense. If you don't have any ransack to steal it away, you're going to do extremely limited targeted damage. You know, percentage damage is not going to do too much after this goes off and some turns have gone by. This fighter and one other teammate getting healed is actually quite nice. I was expecting that to be, you know, for the rest of combat as well, but it's going to be for 2 turns. But like I say, it's quite nice. Some self-sustain. The longer the fight goes on, the less damage he takes, the more influential that heal's going to be in keeping him up. It's pretty much as simple as that. The last part is kind of strange in terms of the damage it's going to deal. The enemy that gets hit by this will basically have their HP halved, but it will never be able to take them out, from what I understand, because their max HP will then be adjusted to the new number. So say they started off at 20,000 max HP, then they go down to 10,000, because 10,000 will be maimed, and their new max HP will be 10,000. If they get hit again, it'll go down to 5,000, then down to 2,500, and you can never half, you know, down to 0, unless they're going to say it, if he's got 1 HP, it will always do 1 HP, but it'll take a lot of rushes to actually get there. Obviously, it's going to be just helping the rest of Steele's team in taking that character out. That means characters won't have to be hit as much to be taken down. Attack team characters don't have that much HP anyway. This bypasses bonus HP, obviously, which is nice. Defense rating, all that good stuff. So it's still going to be pretty good. But it's interesting that it's of the enemy's max HP. Okay, so here we have Steele's Adrenaline Rush ready to go. This is what we need to look at. We need to look at the damage. If it does 21,065, then it is going to be based on his max HP and half of his max HP. But if it does a random other number, it's based on the other character's max HP. Now we'll target someone who's got very high max HP, and if it reduces this, it could be maybe even some usability on attack as a support character. It really depends on the rest of the character's kit. We'll see. We'll do the Adrenaline Rush. And it is going to be the actual character that is targeted, which is actually really interesting. But as you saw, because we targeted someone with such high HP, the extra damage, because that character had bonus HP, was enough to take someone out. There is actually maybe a small bit of potential of this character being usable on attack teams, but also on some of those crazy road maps where characters have 400k max HP. If they have a tiny bit of bonus HP, it's doing it to 2 characters. Actually not too bad at all. So pretty cool on the Adrenaline Rush when it comes to the damage. Obviously, it is going to be problematic when it comes to actually taking characters out on defense teams, but like maybe a little flex usage on road maps and attack teams could be there. We'll have to wait and see for the rest of the kit. But we'll check out the upgrades here. And you can see at grade 3 it gets an upgrade where this fighter gets plus 100% defense, which increases by 50% each turn for the rest of combat. Now I didn't show that in the test, but I figure most people know how that works. He got 100% defense. The next turn it'll be 150, so on and so forth. It can be ransacked, but he can reapply it if he needs to. Now the next one is going to be at grade 5 where he gets an upgrade plus 1 main damage target if the target has bonus HP. This is actually pretty big. You know, you saw it took out another character. Obviously, I targeted someone with very high max HP and saw that as just a bonus. When it comes to him doing it against attack team characters, if he targets like the support character who could potentially have 50, 60k HP, then it should, generally speaking, take out a damage dealer if on that secondary hit, because they don't have much more than 22 to 25k HP, so it can be problematic there. At LB2, it's going to get plus 20% main damage, so it is going to be 30% of the target's max HP as main damage, and then it gets boosted up to 50% of the target's max HP as main damage. That's pretty much how it'll go. So yeah, like I say, the Adrenaline Rush is pretty interesting. It worked on attack quite nicely, honestly. And I said on those road maps it could be pretty decent too. Some of those characters have like 400k HP, and then some of them have like, you know, 250. So if you hit someone with a 400k, it goes on to 250. They're going to be much easier to take down. Could be quite nice. Now he's a tank as well, obviously, so he's going to be a little bit more defensive, harder to take down on those attacks. But we'll have to see what the rest of his kit applies in terms of any sort of support measures. What kind of tank is he? At the moment, he's more like a self-sustained damage-dealing tank. But if he has some nice buffs or things that he can do on his kit, could be a nice addition, like I say, to road maps or attack teams. And if we check out the signature move, you can see it's called I'm Here. It has an initial cooldown at turn 1, cooldown at 1 turn, number of uses unlimited. Taunt a line of enemies for 3 turns. Deal 30% of that enemy's higher attack or defense stat as main damage to that line of enemies. This is definitely a character they're trying to have as an attack or defense team character. It is utilizing the attack stat or the defense stat. Now, on an attack team, this is going to be okay. It really depends. If the character has a defense buff, it'll be big. But if it's their base defense, it's going to maybe do like 30 to 40k damage. But if they have a 400% defense buff, then it's going to do a lot more. However, when this character's on a defense team, this is going to be brutal because characters have like 100 to 150k attack stat. And 30% of that is going to be way too much for them to deal with in main damage as a damage dealer. You're talking about potentially 30 to 50k damage in main, and pretty much no damage dealer can actually survive that. It's going to be impossible. And this is going to be to a line of enemies too, so potentially could take out a line. Now on an attack team, those characters will be taunted for 3 turns. On a defense team, I think those characters are just down. I don't think they're going to be taunted. They're just going to be gone. So that is going to be very interesting indeed. We'll have to wait and see what happens now. Now, it's also worth noting that, let's say the attack team had full Guardian shields. The taunt comes in first, then the damage comes in. So the taunt will always apply, even if the damage gets blocked, which sometimes happens. You know, if I do a signature move and it does damage and then does the control will get blocked because the damage didn't hit. That can't happen on this signature move. Okay, so here we are again attacking pretty much the same team, but this time around I have got someone with a 400% defense buff up the top, and we're going to use the signature move up here. It should do significantly more damage to Sebastian Milton than it should do to Nor, because Sebastian Milton has a 400% defense buff. I'm not going to be sure if it's actually going to be enough to take him out, but we'll soon see. And it is going to be enough to take him out. 70k damage pretty much, and also the 70k on the back character. Now, it's worth noting, it's the character I selected by the looks of things. Because I selected him at 400%, it did extra damage against the character at the back, because it did exactly the same damage to both characters. So if you have a character with extra defense, let's say Luke down the bottom, and I target him instead of Molly, it should do more damage to Molly because I targeted someone with a defense buff. And we might find ourselves in a peculiar situation once again, kind of like we had with Heath, where Steele actually counters Steele. If you have Steele on a defense team and he gives himself that massive defense buff, this signature move will obliterate Steele. It's just as simple as that. Now, if we check over the upgrades, you can see at grade 2, it gets an upgrade where it taunts an enemy for 3 turns. This is actually pretty big. At grade 4, it gets -1 to starting cooldown. So it goes from a turn 2 starting cooldown down to a turn 1 starting cooldown. This is actually really interesting. I'll get into this in a second. At limit break 1, it gets plus 15% damage. So initially it's going to be 15% of that enemy's higher attack or defense stat, and then it'll be boosted up to 30% of either their attack or defense stat. Then at LB3 we get an upgrade where that taunt gets boosted up to a line of enemies, which is obviously very nice indeed, but I wouldn't say it's as important as some other upgrades here. The damage, the starting cooldown, the actual taunt actually occurring itself. If the event that comes out is like Mackenzie's, you could potentially grind out 2 copies of this character, and 2 copies would still get you a first turn signature move, and the damage that this does on an attack team is based on the defense team's stats. So it doesn't matter if Steele doesn't have crazy high stats, he just needs to get this off. So that's actually not too bad. It will be only be 15% of the enemy's higher attack or defense stat, but who knows, you could maybe squeeze out another copy, or it might be worth picking up a smaller offer just to get that LB1 version and be semi-useful on an attack team. On a defense team, I'd still probably say LB3, just based on the stats and so on and so forth. You want the full out, decked out kit. But on an attack team, there is maybe some utility at a lower grade here. So yeah, very nice to see that on an attack team character, especially when that could potentially be accessible. I've got no idea just yet. We'll have to wait and see when that event info drops. But if it is anything like Mackenzie's event, there is some potential. And this signature move is actually really nice for an attack team, because if he doesn't take out the character that he does target because they haven't got massive defense buffs, he's taunting that target plus the target behind for 3 turns, and that is nuts. Taunting a line of enemies for 3 turns with a 1-turn cooldown on this signature move, that is such high levels of control, and that's very, very nice for an attack team for sure. Now, checking out the mythic abilities, the passive skills of Steele. He is a tank, of course, so he is going to get strength, where there's 40% critical hit resistance. And the second passive is called Sturdy Pads. When being attacked while having a debilitating status effect, reduce damage taken by 70%. That is actually quite massive, honestly. Whether he's on attack or defense, there's generally always going to be some sort of debilitating getting thrown around. He is not a leader, so he has the potential to be normalized, and if that happens, he would obviously reduce the damage he takes, which is actually kind of interesting. The next one is called Battle Plan. At the start of each wave and turn, 100% chance this fighter gets focus and confuse for 2 turns, and 100% stun resistance for 1 turn. Now, what's interesting about this, of course, is you could potentially utilize certain parts of his kit when it comes to weapons. Now, he has not got an attached weapon. You would need to either build him a weapon or pick up one of the weapons that no doubt is floating around when it comes to giving reflect damage when someone is attacked and they are confused, I think dazed, and slowed. I can't remember what it's called, but it's a 4-slot upgrade and it is pretty brutal. I think it's 200% reflect. He does not have that attached, but you definitely can craft that for him. Now, the next one is called Unhindered Aid. When triggering this fighter's specialist skill, preemptively heal 2 teammates of 50% of their max HP. This is actually really, really nice. I like this a lot. His specialist skill can trigger twice per turn as well, so he could potentially be healing 2 teammates for massive amounts of HP, or he could potentially heal all 4 teammates for 50% of their max HP if they only had a little bit of damage already taken. I like this a lot. It isn't maybe the most spectacular support character, but there's a bit of healing potential. There's damage reduction based on that specialist skill, which we will check out later. So there is definitely some utility for him on an attack team just on his kit here, but the damage on his signature move and rush, it looks like he has at least some potential there, but also obviously some potential on defense. He's got very high defense stats. His attack stat is so low, 8,000 attack is crazy. I think there are 6 stars with higher attack stat than that, I'm pretty sure. So his survivability is going to be crazy high, especially with that passive that reduces incoming damage by 70% if he has a debilitating status effect. Now I'm going to do a little attack test here, but actually I forgot about something here. Because he gives himself confused, that is a debilitating status effect, and he'll always reduce incoming damage by 70%. You can't get rid of his confused. He'll just keep applying it at the beginning of every turn, and he's always going to reduce damage by 70%. It doesn't even matter if Ether and Ghost would proc the normalized first or not. He's already got a debilitating status effect on him. So we'll do this signature move. He'll probably get taken out, but I just want to show you like the kind of reduced damage that he's going to be taking. We're going to probably be seeing numbers that you're not used to when it comes to Ether and Ghost. Generally, it's the hundreds of Ks, especially against a fast character. But now, it is down to the 20s and 15s. And he doesn't get taken out by the 2 hits on her signature move. This is a fast character. He definitely should be getting taken out. That's trait damage from a damage dealer who actually gets bonuses because he has a debilitating status effect, but he effectively gets boosted because he has a debilitating status effect. Now, I could utilize that weapon I talked about before. It's called Under Pressure, I believe, where it would reflect any of the incoming damage I take back to the user. Now, there are ways around this, like Maggie Lead, but if you don't have Maggie Lead or those 2 turns wear out, that is massive amounts of damage going to be reflected back. If it goes straight into the upgrades, you can see at grade 1, the first half of Sturdy Pads comes in when being attacked while having a debilitating status effect. Reduced damage taken by 30%. At grade 2, it gets the first half of Strength, 20% critical hit resistance. At grade 3, Sturdy Pads 2 comes in and it gets boosted up to 70% damage reduction when this character has a debilitating status effect, which is generally going to be happening because of the other passive, Battle Plan. At the start of each wave and turn, 50% chance this fighter gets focused and confused for 2 turns, and 100% stun resistance for 1 turn. Moving on to grade 5, you can see it gets the first half of Unhindered Aid. When triggering this fighter's specialist skill, preemptively heal 2 teammates for 20% of their max HP. This can trigger twice per turn because obviously he's Bodyguard 2, which can trigger twice per turn. So this could potentially heal his entire team by 50%, which is very nice indeed. Moving on to limit breaks, we see a limit break 1, we get the second half of Strength, making it 40% critical hit resistance total. At limit break 2, we get the second half of Battle Plan 2, making it 100% chance this fighter gets focused and confused for 2 turns, and also still gets that 100% stun resistance for 1 turn. And that's at the beginning of every wave and turn. That means that it will happen before the attack team gets to attack, which is very nice indeed. At limit break 3, we get Unhindered Aid 2 come in. When triggering the fighter's specialist skill, preemptively heal 2 teammates for a further 30% of their max HP, making it 50% total. So very nice passives indeed. More on the defense team side of things, but he will obviously be able to help his own teammates out. If characters took too much damage and procced his specialist skill, he'd then heal 2 characters because of that. He has very heavy damage output potential, lots of control potential as well. Definitely some usability on attack teams as that support control character actually takes up that role quite nicely. And he has actually quite accessible passives at low grade when it comes to certain parts of his kit. He won't be able to do the Confuse all the time, but it isn't that big a deal for attack. He needs that Confuse to be going up every time. Battle Plan at the start of every turn and wave, 100% chance. You need to have him at least LB2 for a defense team, but obviously LB3 does not hurt for the stats. But for attack, not so much needed. It's actually more about the damage reduction he's going to take if he's got a debilitating, like I say, which is very nice. Now, it has mentioned it a couple of times in his kit, and we'll check it out. It is the specialist skill of Steele, and it is Bodyguard 2. While not stunned, the first 2 times each turn that an ally teammate takes 30% of their max HP from a single attack, rush, active, or signature skill, this fighter will take that damage instead. Damage transferred this way is reduced by 75%. Now, obviously, he gets 100% stun resistance at the beginning of every turn and wave that can be bypassed by a control character. He obviously can get that reduced down to 60%, which obviously is still pretty high percentage. More often than not, he is going to resist stuns, and then he will obviously be able to proc this Bodyguard when characters take that damage. Twice per turn, and he reduces it by 75%. But I like this special skill, and generally speaking, Bodyguard 2 characters are some of the coolest characters in the game. I'm just going to say that. But no, I do like the special skill, and it works on attack as well, just as a support role. I don't think this is too bad for Steele. It works on attack and defense. And if you have 2 characters with Bodyguard 2 on a defense team, it's awful to deal with because they're bodyguarding each other twice, and then obviously they're taking reduced damage. Like Steele will take reduced damage if you even target him, and then obviously he's bodyguarding Locke, who's the other Bodyguard 2, and he'll be able to stop him from being targeted. 2 bodyguards on a team is generally very, very, very powerful, and there just needs to be a good leader for those characters to go behind. Potentially be a very annoying duo to deal with on a defense team. Now, Steele has no attached weapon. You could put an absolute defense weapon in his hands. You could put an under pressure weapon in his hands to reflect back because he is confused. He's got a couple of options. On an attack team, you could go for more of a support-based weapon. Maybe a weapon where he gets AP when he gets attacked. When you do that taunt, he's going to get extra AP that way. There's a couple of options you can go for here. It's not too bad at all when it comes to usability on the weapons. Fast defense team weapons are generally some of the better ones. Absolute defense is brutal. And on attack, they have some decent options for support. Not very good outside of support, generally speaking. They never have had a good top tier damage weapon, but there maybe been the odd double attack. But he doesn't need that. He just needs stats just to increase survivability and something on his weapon just to help his teammates. Maybe some random healing or something like that. But AP on defense, like I say, probably wouldn't be a bad thing on an attack team. So that's just the first look at Gold Mythic Steele, the first ever Steele to coming to RTS. And like I said, the visuals are really cool. I actually only just noticed that one of the arms sticking out of this, I guess it's like the side of a train, because I can see the handles at the top. You can see the fresh bite marks. It looks like they're going after somebody who's trying to escape. So it could be like a new group of people. We could maybe see more storyline things, but we haven't seen storyline stuff in RTS for a while. So it would be nice to see some story roadmaps and stuff to get some info on these guys, because that's what a lot of people play the game for. So RPG, that's how it works. But we'll see what happens there. Do tell me your thoughts though on Steele as a character. What do you think about him? Obviously his usage on defense, but also potential usage on attack. He does look like a pretty good hybrid utility character here. Pretty interesting kit for sure. Like I say, leave your thoughts in the comments down below. I want to thank you very much for tuning in, and as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.